It is a beautiful night here in Illinois. Nice warm day. So I got done and I decided, you know what? I was gonna do a little crop scouting tonight. So things look good. Talked to a young fella today that was worried about his farm. The math was not mathing, and he was worried about what he was going to do. Rightfully so. Uh, Things were just not adding up. And I think anybody that's in farming can see right now, if you're doing corn and soybeans and some of the other main commodities, that's pretty commonplace. I remember being where he was in the late 90s, and I remember going to a meet. I think it was a Farm Bureau meeting, and the speaker there, he was talking about this book, and it's not a children's book, but it's a very simple written book, and I think it's called Who Moved My Cheese? And it's about this mouse that lives in a block of cheese, and it's simple, right? He just grabs a piece of cheese and sits there and eats, and then eventually over the years all the cheese is gone, and the mouse is just sitting there going, well, who moved my cheese? The story is that you have to look ahead. You can't be comfortable where you're at. I remember hearing this story, and I remember being so ticked off because kind of the moral is, you have to think outside the box. You got to diversify. You got to do other things. And I remember being so mad when I heard that speech because it's like, how? How do I do that? And I get it. I mean, do you spray fungicide or do you fix the dryer? You don't have enough money for both. How in the world are you going to think about like starting something new, uh, diversifying, getting money to start a new business, something like that? It just seems so overwhelming and so out of reach for a lot of people. What I did tell him was the story of how we got out of it, and I just blitzed. I did the shotgun approach. I just did everything. I started like so many little side hustles, and the vast majority of them didn't work, and I made so many mistakes, but the one that did, we focused in on. And I really never had to spend much money for it. I remember I did need a four-wheeler for it. This is the outfitter, and I remember, having to go get a loan for it. It was, sitting in a bank and be told, well, it doesn't make sense. Why would you need a four-wheeler to do that? Stuff like that. I remember those times, and it was just like the overwhelming grief of it, the doom, and something's going to go wrong. Your well's going to stop working and all this, and then you look forward to the next year, how high is fertilizer going to be. All this stuff can just be like a blanket that doesn't relent. But what I do know is if you try some side hustles, it might cost you time. Don't get caught up on what I did, and some of the ones I really wanted to succeed, I focused in on, even though they weren't making the money. But if you try enough, you might find one that hits. And that's the one that could bring it all around. We interview people all the time, and it's always that something extra. They've got their farm, either, corn, soybeans, cattle, whatever, but the real successful ones, they always have that one thing extra. They're using their own milk in their own creamery, or they're direct to consumer with their beef. They want that little extra mile, and that little extra mile is what's getting them through these tough times. So I know it can be overwhelming, but if you sit back, you think about what talents you have, and I guarantee you do, and how can you utilize those? Hopefully, it can take off for you. Other than that, I better get back to crop scouting.